My 15 minutes of fame. Flattening a Prime Minister's retina. It was Andy Warhol, the pop artist, who in 1968 said, "In the future, everybody will be famous for 15 minutes. My story starts in 1970 as a newly qualified doctor at the Middlesex Hospital in London, where I started a relationship with one of the physiotherapy students, Sally Henderson. Her father, John, was a family doctor, and we became good friends despite my no longer being involved with Sally. It also so happened that he was Margaret Thatcher's doctor. In 1982, at the age of 56, Margaret Thatcher, the Prime Minister, wanted some reading glasses for the first time. She said to John Henderson, "Send me to an ophthalmologist who's likely to outlive me." She came to see me in November, only 1 month after I was appointed a consultant in Windsor. I was very nervous, but all went well, thankfully. On Sunday, July the 31st, the following year, after I came back from walking my Yorkshire Terrier Algie, I discovered that John Henderson had rung to say that the Prime Minister had flashes and floaters in her right eye for the past 3 days. He asked if I could come and see her at his cottage near Henley. So I went to the hospital, I connected an indirect ophthalmoscope and some drops, and off I went. When I examined her, there was a large upper temporal U tear in her right eye, but at that stage no subretinal fluid, and it looked rather like this. I said that it might be possible to surround the tear with laser to avoid surgery, which she was quite keen on, but that I would have to check her in 3 days, and if there had been any deterioration, then she would require formal surgery. So we all proceeded to the hospital to do the laser. Me in front, in my Fiat Panda, the Prime Minister's security and their Land Rover Discovery, the Prime Minister and her Daimler 66, and behind us all, John Henderson in his BMW 525. We went to the King Edward VII Hospital in Windsor. I alerted the ward sister that we would need to take over the laser room, having kept everybody outside until things were clear. I went in there with the Prime Minister and I put a series of argon laser burns around the tear, hoping that this would be sufficient. Downing Street initially did not inform the press as to what had been going on until Monday evening, that is the day after we did the laser treatment. But on Tuesday morning, the story broke in the press. In the Times, there was a story that Thatcher may face an operation on her eye. Highlighted here, we've got a description of posterior vitreous detachment for the benefit of the lay public. And also they were saying that the success rate of retinal detachment surgery was 93%. The following day, the Times had a story, "Doctor optimistic on Thatcher's eye." Now this wasn't me, this was John Henderson. And he said that if a minor operation was necessary, the use of lasers was possible. And this would involve only a local anaesthetic. Just shows all he knew. In fact, that particular day, and I was going to be seeing the Prime Minister later on, I was doing a clinic at Moorfields Eye Hospital, High Holborn. And when I came out, there was press everywhere because they'd gone to all the branches of Moorfields to see if they could get an opinion from an eye doctor. So as I came out, one of the journalists came up to see me and said that, did I know what was going on with the Prime Minister? Was I an ophthalmologist? So I said, well, yes, I was an ophthalmologist, but I really couldn't make any comment. I didn't know what was going on. You can imagine how he felt when he discovered later on in the day, or possibly the next day, that I was the surgeon who was going to be operating on the Prime Minister. I had arranged with the Prime Minister that she would come and see me in Harley Street at my rooms there, 128 Harley Street, and that I would examine her at about 2 o'clock, which I duly did. When I had a look at her eye, I found the following: that she had her upper temporal U tear that I knew about. I could see that there were some laser shots around it, all the way around, but unfortunately there was now some subretinal fluid which was lifting off the lasered area. And I said to her, look, I'm really sorry, but the laser has not been sufficient. If we don't operate as quickly as we can, then it is quite possible that the retina will fully detach and it will have an effect in your vision on the long term. So she agreed that she would come for surgery and that she didn't want it done in London, and we'd arranged that if it was going to be necessary, she would come down to Princess Christian's Hospital in Windsor, which is where I do my private surgery. I'd already alerted my team at King Edward VII Hospital that we would be possibly having to do this. They had all the equipment ready, and we just said, okay, let's go on and do it. I carried out the Prime Minister's surgery that evening, starting at about 7:30, and we finished about 8:30. The surgery was done at HRS Princess Christian's Hospital, which is the private hospital I used in Windsor. The name came from Princess Helena Victoria, who was a daughter of Queen Victoria, and she married Prince Christian Victor of Schleswig-Holstein. This is where the name came from. As far as the surgery was concerned, I put a radial sponge plomb on the eye over the area of the break, having localized it and having put some cryopexy onto it. I also felt the need to release some subretinal fluid because the implant itself didn't seem to be sufficient to close the tear. I was obviously in the theatre with the Prime Minister, and the surgery was being done under general anaesthetic, so we had an anaesthetist there. John Henderson was in the corner, worrying that I was going to be able to do this all right. And then outside, there were the PM's protection officers waiting to make sure I did a good job. When we started the surgery, nobody, that is the press, knew where we were in Windsor. However, somebody did tip off the press from my building in Harley Street in London. However, I was able to leave the hospital after surgery undetected. By the next morning, however, it was all over the press and TV. On the day after the surgery, August the 4th, the Times had a nice picture of John Henderson and Margaret Thatcher, the Prime Minister. There was also a description about what might have been done to seal and deal with the tear in the Prime Minister's retina. A number of the other papers also reported the story. Sometimes they were a little bit more dramatic than others. The Daily Telegraph just said that she'd had an operation after the failure of the laser treatment. The Sun, always more dramatic, said Maggie battles for her sight. And the Daily Mail, which is always a supporter of the Conservative Party, like the Telegraph, said successful IOP for Maggie. Although how they actually knew that at that stage, I don't really know. On the morning after the surgery, I went in to see the Prime Minister. On the way in, nobody recognised me. However, by the time I came out, this was a different story. But I was able to report, having been stopped by press and TV and having to get out of my car in order to talk to them, that the Prime Minister was doing well, that she had good vision, and I was very happy, and so was Dennis Thatcher, her husband. Although I was on the lunchtime and evening news, I didn't get into the press, or at least my name didn't get into the press or any pictures of me until the following day. And here we can see the Times and the Daily Mail of August 5th with pictures of Dennis Thatcher looking extremely pleased. And certainly so was I. They were very optimistic stories, and certainly you would have thought that this was all the people had to worry about. However, the Conservative Party, the Tories, had got a bit upset because the Prime Minister had not appointed somebody to mind the shop while she was actually recovering from her surgery or while she was actually under the anaesthetic. That same day, the 5th of August, the Prime Minister's son Mark came to visit her in hospital. When he came out of her room, he said to me, "Richard, Mother's very happy and she says you can have product endorsement." Well, that was pretty pleasing, I suppose. On the following day, Saturday, the 6th of August, I went to see my patient and tell her that she could leave hospital. After this, I went shopping in the supermarket and discovered what my 15 minutes of fame actually meant. People actually recognised me and said hi, and they wanted to know how the Prime Minister was. It was extraordinary. The Sunday papers reported the Prime Minister's discharge from hospital. You could see her smiling with her dark glasses on because she didn't normally wear glasses for distance. By this stage, she'd already requested as to when she could start work and had already seen one load of red dispatch boxes with all her Prime Minister's papers in. Anyway, she went off very happily to Chequers, the Prime Minister's country residence. On Monday, August the 8th, 1 week after the original story in the Times, I went to see the Prime Minister at Chequers to see how she was getting on. The story now had moved on from the operation itself to the Prime Minister being irritated by talks of succession and what should or shouldn't have been done while she was recovering from surgery. Anyway, I was very happy because she was doing well. Her vision had returned to her pre-PVD level and all seemed to be going well. And as far as reporting the whole matter of the Prime Minister and her operation was concerned, I even made it into Private Eye, our best-known satirical magazine in the UK. And in the second paragraph, as you can see here from the supposed letter from Schloss Bangelstein, it said, "A second doctor wheeled in, a very smooth little booper chap called Pankhurst or some such name. His line being a simple little op, he does 50 of them a week, nice quiet clinic in the back streets of Windsor, very tasty food, same butcher as the castle, far from prying eyes of Fleet Street. He'd have her in and out in a couple of days, and no one would be any the wiser. Well, just shows how wrong you can be. I continued to see Lady Thatcher, as she became after her resignation in 1990, for nearly 30 years. We became quite good friends with her and her husband, Dennis. They would come to our house occasionally. We would go and see them. We were invited to Lady Thatcher's 70th birthday party, and we went to their golden wedding celebration as well. Sadly, dementia took hold in her last years, and the last time we spoke was at a Kuwait National Day event, and she could not remember who I was. From my point of view, what did my 15 minutes of fame mean? Well, patients came from all over the world, so I had much to be grateful for my friendship with John Henderson, and, above all, I was privileged to have known Margaret Thatcher, a quite remarkable woman. So thank you for your attention, and if fate deems it possible that you might be famous for 15 minutes, enjoy it, because it really doesn't come too often in one's life.